and will, I think, lead to a reduced spread of that pernicious disease.
Chris Bishop, 5-minute call.
Thank you very much, Mr Speaker. Well, weren't the remarks of Mr Raymond Ho interesting in his speech? What did he say? He said export education is a no-brainer. It's a sure and sustainable way to grow the New Zealand economy, and he waxed lyrical about the importance of export education, which has been growing in recent years, $4.5 billion worth of value to the New Zealand economy. Well, very interesting words, because in a few weeks' time, in a few days' time actually, the Labour Party is going to announce their much-vaunted immigration plan. This is the plan to reduce the number of migrants in New Zealand by around 50,000 to 10,000 migrants per year. And I know who the Labour Party will be targeting. They'll be targeting all of the international students that come to New Zealand and enrol in our universities and our high schools and our private training establishments to learn English and learn lots of other things and want to make a contribution to this economy. So very interesting that already the new list MP for the Labour Party is very much out of step with his leader and very much out of step with the other comments that Labour members have made as well. Because the reality is export education is a worthwhile contributor to this country. It is funded again in this budget through the various agencies that do that within New Zealand, Mr Speaker, and it is something that the government stands fully behind, unlike the Labour Party opposite. The other thing in this budget, sir, that I want to highlight in this speech is the very much welcomed family incomes package. This is a great package, sir. In fact, it was so great and so impressive that every party in Parliament decided to vote for the bill implementing it other than the Labour Party. And I want to put on the record again our appreciation in the National Party for the Greens acting with principle, and doing the right thing and deciding to vote for what was a good package that put more money in the hands of those who need it most. And I also want to say thank you to New Zealand First for doing the same, for acting in this case, not always, but in this case, in a principled way, and deciding actually that the benefits that accrue under the bill and under this budget to low-income workers were worth voting with the government on. And it's just a shame, I think, sir, that the Labour Party's decided that the 1.3 million working families that benefit to the average of $26 per week, it's actually, I think, a regret that they decided not to vote for it in the Labour Party. But that's fine. They've made their bed. They'll have to lie on it, and they'll have to explain to New Zealanders in the coming weeks and months on the election campaign trail why exactly they did vote against giving working families an extra $26 per week on average, why it is they voted against working for families increases, why it is they voted for tax cuts at the bottom end of the income scale. And in reality, they are isolated, very much like their economic policy when it comes to New Zealand. Because the response from the Labour Party to this budget had a few stages. First of all, there was just utter confusion. I think it was more like shell shock, actually. I mean, Andrew Little was so shell-shocked in his speech that after 9 years of a national government, in the 9th budget presented by the government, Andrew Little could make 17 minutes. He couldn't even go the full 20. I mean, it was just embarrassing. And actually, the Labour members opposite knew it because their heads were down, they were on their iPads or on their iPhones, abusing people on Twitter and doing various things as they want to do. He could not even make 20 minutes. It was just actually embarrassing. So that was the first response. And then there was anger. You know, and we got that through the Labour members' speeches on the budget bill. So there was a lot of anger out there. I'll tell you when there was a lot of anger is when Phil Twyford was sitting in the House and he worked out that the Greens were voting for the budget and Labour was voting against it. He was not happy. And, you know, we all know that Phil likes to get very worked up in the House, but he was very worked up that night. So that was the second response. There was a lot of anger. And then the third response was denial. You know, they just want to pretend the whole thing had never happened, that it wasn't a national government helping out low-income workers. No, it's all too difficult. Let's just pretend it was a bad dream and we didn't wake up on Thursday morning. That was actually what was happening. But it was what was happening. And so because of that, Jacinda Ardern decided not to turn up to the nation given an opportunity to do an interview with the nation and explain away why Labor were voting against the budget, just decided not to turn up. So Labor weren't represented on the nation. So it just all too hard. We just deny it happened. And then there was confusion again. Then we were right back to the start and there was confusion again. And Andrew Little was on Morning Report on Monday morning trying to explain cuts to the budget. A cut in Andrew Little's world is what happens when you have an increase that's not as much as you think it should be. That's what a cut means. So just embarrassing. So confusion, anger, denial and then confusion again. That's the Labor Party's response to most policies from this government, and that's why this is a good budget and why everyone should vote for it.
Thank you. Derek Ball.
Thank you, sir.